Hello and welcome to Pitching In, the story podcast that explores the difference between taste and expertise. I'm Christian Barrett, and joining me today for our epic MCU Endtrospective are my superheroic guests, Paul Grabovac.
Hello.
And Ryan Wisdom.
Yeah.
How's it going, guys?
Yeah, not too bad.
Thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having us.
This is going to be... This is a podcast like 11 years in the making, obviously. Very excited.
I remember that email you sent 11 years ago.
Do you?
So, yeah.
I didn't even know either of you 11 years
Saying,
ago.
look, dudes...
Man, I hope you guys were okay back then.
Yeah, well, look, I was fine.
I just want to know how you got my Hotmail account.
That's right, yeah.
Oh, man.
Check my MySpace.
Well, let's start off. I'll start off by saying this episode is going to be massively spoilery, heavy with spoilers. We're going to be spoiling all of the spoils from Avengers Endgame. So...
The spoilers of Infinity War.
Yes, Infinity War, Endgame, everything in there. So if you haven't watched those things yet, please do, because they are amazing. They're excellent.
Also, what value would you get out of this podcast if you haven't?
Exactly.
Or maybe just listen to this and then you don't have to watch any of the
films. There's a guy on
films.
YouTube where it says Avengers Endgame is the only MCU film he's ever seen. It's like, oh, and
Why?
it's like a social experiment. I don't know. Just hurts my heart a little bit. Makes me a bit sad. But before we start each episode, I always like for us to give our listeners a little bit of context of who they are listening to. So myself, Ryan, and Paul will just really briefly talk about kind of our storytelling experience and background and our tastes. So as for myself, all my studies in writing, I did my master's in filmmaking, and I've made a few short films, and I'm currently working on a kids' picture book. My tastes and things I'm realizing they're pretty much anything where genre is a metaphor for something bigger. So I like messages, I like meaning behind stuff, but I like it to be sort of full of spectacle and fantastical things. Yes, what about you, Paul?
My background is in theatre, primarily. Theatre creation and development, both as a writer, director, performer, and producer. But I've also done a little bit of film and a lot of VO work and a bit of entertaining with kids as well.
Boom. And what about your taste? In
films?
In films, yes.
In films, I'm a big sucker for the hero's journey.
Nice.
Always have been. Anywhere where I feel like people can come away feeling sort of empowered and that they've learnt a bit of a life lesson as well.
Yeah. And
Cool. Yeah, and I'd just like to say I'm back.
yes, you are back.
That's right.
Yay!
99% of me has returned. 1% is now on the black market being sold. So, yes, after all the jokes you guys made at my expense last time about my appendix. So that was great. So, I'm back from that. I'm a writer. Obviously, written a web series I got right this time, which we're working on with these guys. I like horror sort of stuff. I like stuff that's character-based, dialogue-driven, has twists and turns in it, all that sort of ugly stuff. So I've just written a second draft of my horror film at the moment, which is pretty cool.
Oh, sweet. That was the
one in a month, but then it died for a month, so I had to do more on it.
That's right.
I'm going to introduce something as well.
Oh, yes.
Because the last two podcasts I've listened to, there's been a lot of swearing, and I have to apologise because I swore a lot in my last one, and I thought I was really bad.
You did, yeah.
But then I listened to Shane and Christian swear.
What the fuck are you guys talking about?
Okay, so what I brought today is a swear jar.
Oh, really?
Okay, and I'm going to pop it down here because we've done a lot of swearing already, and I brought a few coins.
I was going to say, I do not have coins here.
So if we do choose to swear a little bit, we'll add some coins into that jar, and I'll probably put a few in there.
And who gets the money at the end?
Basically me, because it goes back towards my alcohol fund, and
giving
it turns into a horrible cycle.
You're giving yourself your own money.
Yeah, because then I put it towards alcohol, and then I swear a lot more, and then I put more into the jar, and it's just an ugly circle.
I don't have any trouble just turning swearing off.
I've already said fuck.
There you go.
Oh, yeah, he's even got a slot in there. That's pretty good.
I know. I cut it into.
What about sexual innuendo? In your endo?
I'm completely fine with that.
That's close.
That's borderline.
That's not a swear.
It's right on the edge.
It's not a swear, but you're right. Yeah, but you're right.
That's an innuendo. A la Scrubs. In your
You're really pushing it. All right.
What do you mean? I'm not swearing.
Okay. I've just put a swear jar there. That's just so I can keep myself in check.
That's good.
And to make sure I'm not dropping F-bombs.
With the amount of money you'll be collecting, you need to write yourself a check. There we go. Yeah.
Professional writers around the table.
Yes.
That's
there's no joke jar.
Scripts.
There's no joke jar.
I didn't turn up for this.
Can't put negative
I didn't turn
money.
up for this shit, and I'm just putting one of those straight in.
And also, if anything sounds different about Ryan, it's just because his appendix held his power.
That's true.
Yeah, the source of all his power.
And while I was in there and had surgery, they actually allowed my balls to drop for me as well.
Congratulations.
So that's why my voice is a little bit
Is
deeper.
that why your appendix burst? Because your things were up in your thing?
I don't know why that burst. It's
pretty random.
It just ejected with my body.
A ball of swear words?
No.
Okay.
Not bouncy balls, not circular balls.
Just in the context of the human anatomy.
Well, that's correct.
Yeah,
Testicles.
You haven't had your appendix out, have you, Paul?
No, I like to keep mine where it is.
Yes, me too.
Yeah,
but Shane had, and he was apart from the fact that he didn't
care.
Get into. He did. He felt bad. He was like, "Yeah, it's pretty bad. It's pretty painful."
Adam jerk, more like it. I'll send that out to him.
Yeah,
I know he's listening.
All right, well,
moving on. Sorry.
No, that's good. That's good.
I
like our swear jar. But so basically, we're going to start off by reviewing Avengers Endgame. And just to give a bit of context, directed by Anthony and Joe Russo, the Bros, and written by Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely. Currently, the second highest grossing film of all time.
Will not take long for it to be first.
Oh,
sure. It's like 500
it.
million short of
no problems. It's in week 3.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Do you know it took Avatar like 20 weeks to get to its...
Well, it's got to hit the repeat viewing cycle.
Because apparently it didn't have a great opening, but then Avatar just lasted for like 3 months where people just kept going to see it.
But this is similar in that they're both event films, whereas Avatar's hook was like, come see this new technology, and Pocahontas on space.
Fern Gully.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's a good one as
because
well.
Because it was the 3D as well, wasn't it?
Exactly.
So
it was like
it
wasn't even the first 3D film, but it was the first one that eventized the thing. And this is another event, but we've had 11 years of films, 21 films prior.
Yeah.
So there's no way that build-up doesn't have a payoff. Even if the film was bad, I was about to swear. Even if the film was bad.
I like this.
We're so Captain
I love it. We're all under pressure now.
We're
all under pressure now, and I like this because I'm going to be really bad. So.
Even if the film was bad, I don't think it would struggle to get to the point that it is right now, given the legacy of films that have come before it.
Well, because before it's all up to basically third base, and we're trying to, we're getting there. We've undone the pants, we've done all that sort of stuff, and then we're trying to get, the home run, and that's what that's it. That's that's innuendo, but that's the build-up. I feel like again.
I'm wondering about though, and I'm sure this will keep coming up as we chat, but I'm wondering how much of the weight and the strength of this film has a lot less to do with this film than we think. Like. It's not, and I don't mean the hoopla and the furore around it. I mean all the stories from all the other things, and the fact that this is just the tying of all those beautiful, like all those lovely bookends. Like,
I mean, if we're going to talk about it as a review, this film is not a standalone film.
Exactly. That's, I guess. Yep. I'm kind of.
It's not just a sequel to the Infinity War, which would be a bare minimum to have seen if you were going to see Endgame.
Jeez, yeah.
It is a sequel to a story that started 11 years ago or 10 years ago. 21 films ago.
Yeah, and we've chased that carrot for a long time, and then we've been presented with the carrot now, and we take a bite out of the carrot, and it's whether we liked it or not. That's what I think
is interesting as well is we didn't really know we were chasing the carrot.
We started to figure it out
until I would argue that what's the movie where they have the discussion at the end when Thor, maybe it's at the end of Age of Ultron or something, where Thor, Iron Man, and Cap are discussing if you could put the Mjolnir in a lift.
Yeah, that's the end of Age of Ultron.
Because that's when he says there are we know he's got 3 so far, or we know there's 3 so far. We have to find the rest of them, and that was kind of the first, as that I remember, the first acknowledgement that there was a collection to collect. Do you know? Am I?
I think there was always a plan to draw them in because there was films scheduled for like 8 years.
No. So I'm saying in the story, and what we knew in the story. If we're just looking at the way the story's going, I feel like that was in my memory at least, that was the moment where it went. This is a collection of this is collecting a collection, guys.
Yeah, but that was only informing us. That was only giving us more information about Thanos' agenda.
Yeah.
Because how far back do you
want to wind? We saw him. Of course, I did forget about that. Okay, we saw him at the end. But I guess we didn't know. Seeing him, we didn't know he was collecting the Infinity Stones.
We didn't, but that wasn't the relative point. The relative point was we're establishing this villain.
Yes.
He's the puppet master of Loki.
Yes.
So there's almost an agreement by that fact of us as viewers going, right, we're going to see him at some point.
Yes.
And he's going to be the threat.
Yes, okay. And so we're waiting for that threat to eventuate. Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. I guess the moment I'm talking about is more the moment that we understood the greater context of the threat. Yeah, which makes sense. Yeah, okay.
And even in that scene in Ultron, he says, this is the third instance of Infinity Stones popping up. Something is at play.
Yes.
I'm going to go find out
what it is. Maybe that's what I mean, where they decide, maybe that's where they realised, maybe, even though we'd already...
Yeah, but then they hired Taika Waititi and it all changed anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Hey, look, he just come in and have some fun.
I don't have... No, this is not that podcast.
No, I want to talk a little bit about that.
We will discuss Ragnarok, I'm sure, at some stage.
But let's discuss Endgame.
So what does everyone think? What did everyone think?
Like a short little thing?
Yeah.
I
overview.
thoroughly enjoyed it. I think it did a masterful job of bringing all these sort of threads together. Some choices I didn't like, which we'll probably get into a bit later. But I don't see it as being a highly rewatchable film, but I'm very incredibly grateful for its existence.
How many times have you seen it?
Twice.
How many times have you seen it?
I've only seen it once.
Okay, yeah, I've seen it twice as well.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll go back to the cinema and watch it again. I don't know, but I kind of find like it's always spinning plates. That film, and then they all like I like to tie things in as a writer myself, so I felt like they did really well to bring it all together.
Yes,
and we finalised a lot of those characters and stuff like that. And it's a massive film to sit through. It's massive. Your head's spinning the whole time, and imagine the second time you're probably picking up stuff you missed the first time round.
Yeah.
But I kind of liked Infinity War better. And we'll probably get to that. I enjoyed that more, and I kind of found this one to be more of a drama. And then I think they shoehorned in a lot of the humour, which is Thor, and a little bit of Ant-Man to try and bring it back to that lighter side. But there's so much going in there. There's so much sadness to it. And we've also got villains, and not villains, the heroes in that kind of suffering. And even towards the end, it's loss. Yeah. It's all about loss. And it always had to be about loss. We can't have a nice, smooth sailing ship.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's just maybe it's like towards the end of the Harry Potter where it gets darker. It almost like it got a lot darker with the characters, and the choices.
But, I mean, I like that darkness. I think it's. I mean, I wouldn't call it.
Dark's probably not the right word.
Yeah, dark's maybe not the right word, but I know what you mean.
It's more somber.
It's pathos. It's the weight of the emotions of all these other movies. I mean, I kind of I kind of echo what you guys are saying. Really enjoyed it. Basically, like, what an amazing experience, I would say, necessarily, more than necessarily an amazing film. I'd say a really good movie, but not perfect, very good, and basically did an amazing job of being the last little piece that in its slightly what you could call bloated runtime, but I think entirely justified runtime, had to pack in the endings to all of these stories. I mean, they ended. I'd say at least half a dozen kind of more major arcs, if not at least a couple, and then
open up
loads
other
arcs.
They open up a lot of other arcs as well, which is like.
They close the circles on so many smaller arcs.
They paid off on our emotional investment in these characters.
Yeah,
which I think there's no small reason the sort of 6 main characters who were left at the end of Infinity War.
I was surprised at how confused people were that was the case at the end of Infinity War. People were like, why? I thought Captain and Iron Man would have this done by now. And I'm like, no, of course they're going to leave them to the end because they're the ones that started it. Like,
yeah, but there's something to be said that like the stakes get risen. Say at the end of Infinity War, Cap or Iron Man did die. You'd be like, oh my god, they're just like, it's that line that you hear earlier in Infinity War. It's like, your Earth just lost their best defender.
Yeah.
Like if that actually happened at the end of Infinity War and you don't get that chance for
catharsis.
Yeah. Then the stakes rise again. I think even I myself, like at the end of Infinity War, I'm like, I thought at least one of them would go. I thought someone would make a sacrifice. Like I know Vision dies and there are other people who suffer, but
we wanted the big character in that one, didn't we? We kind of wanted someone...
I didn't.
Why?
Why?
I kind of
that would lower the stakes.
Well, I kind of expected the death like a bit like it would happen in that episode as a catalyst for things that happened in the next one. But we lost so many... We didn't lose them. They just turned to dust. It was just a big shock. I was expecting a death that
to me they weren't dead.
The next one.
To me, I didn't go. I just went, holy shit! What are they going to do now? Holy shit! They're all dead forever. I never thought that.
Number one, you have to put 2 coins in the jar.
Did I swear?
I wasn't swearing. I was quoting.
Who are you quoting?
Myself from earlier.
No.
When today wasn't the day.
He's just come off 11 and a half hours sleep.
Sorry guys, I've already had 11 and a half hours sleep.
And this is probably the line between watching these films as adults and watching these films as kids. Or people who are less invested in either storytelling or knowing comic book lore and legends and things. When the snap happened, there's that great divide when people who went, oh my god, they're all gone.
Yeah.
And the whole rest of us went, yeah, but they'll be back, it's fine.
Yeah.
And like, not that you're not impacted by it, like, oh, that's a great choice, or that, that affects me. But you know it's going to be fine.
Yeah.
Well, then we saw the teaser for Spider-Man.
Well, that
was just kind
I didn't watch it.
I know, but we knew it was there.
I know,
but we knew it was there, so we're kind of like, oh, well, he's back.
Yeah.
And it's, it's far from home, so we're like, okay, he's definitely coming back. And I was like, that kind of ruined for me. I was kind of like, just leave that till after the film.
It's coming out in like a month and a half.
Yeah,
I know, and I kind of feel that's rushed.
How they could otherwise manage that. But I mean, like for me, it was definitely more about that, oh no, they think they're all dead forever. That was the pain of it for me. It's like, oh no, all the characters who've survived are like, oh shit, we don't know.
Well, it's the Spider-Man death that kind of has those.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's a bad choice to have not killed the character, but it's like, it's The Empire Strikes Back, so that film gets to end on such a note that everyone goes, wow, what's next? Yeah. You know, which I think is something that, say, Fellowship of the Ring had over Two Towers, where, like, you start the journey, it's like, oh, we're ending there? Yeah. What? Yeah. You know, and I think that's the same effect. But...
So, I mean, so you're saying that kind of, that anticipation creates an excitement.
Oh, absolutely.
Because for me, just, you know, a side tangent, but for me, End of Lord of the Rings was a disappointment.
Of Fellowship?
Yes.
Right.
Not massively, but I was like,
yeah.
Yeah, well, that makes sense, but okay. And same with Matrix. End of the Matrix, I was like, he just started to fly, do more cool stuff. Like,
I'm not bringing up the Matrix again, because this is a bit of a
Philistine.
I even heard it in the last
I really like the. I know that
next week.
I know the second and third Matrixes are messy, but I've read into how the Wachowskis shaped them and crafted them, and how they didn't want them to follow heroes' journeys in the same way, blah, blah, blah. And so I have respect for them, and plus they have a lot more fun stuff in them than the first one does, but I totally understand why people have trouble with them. Anyway.
Edit that out. That'll be in the whole...
Christian will edit that out.
That'll be the post-credit sequence.
Post-credit sequence. But yeah, no, so that idea of anticipation is really... It's funny, because that's massively key to this whole movie. How do you guys feel about... So I've... when I was sitting in the film, I was like, wow, this first act is slow, right? I wasn't thinking bad slow, but I was like, just a lot of people, another person comes into a room, sits down, and they're just sad.
Yeah.
It's just so many scenes after scenes after scenes, right? And I was like I'm okay with this because I know I can see what they're doing, but and then I was like, okay, there's going to be an hour of this. Because presumably this is going to make up the first act until they get their act together and start. So it's going to be an hour of this. Time heist.
That's the one.
How do you guys feel about how that was handled? That kind of, we need to deal with the fallout of the last one. It's going to take, it is going to be an hour. Like, did you guys feel that was slow, or did you enjoy that? Or like Ryan, you talked about darkness.
I enjoyed it, but I also think there were so many characters to address that had that sense of loss as well. Because we hadn't even seen Hawkeye, and it started with Hawkeye, which was just brilliant. And I loved that scene. Yeah. I knew what was coming. I mean,
of course,
everyone did. You kind of go, he's going to turn around, and everyone's turning to dust. And it's really sad.
But it's heavy.
It's really heavy. But what a great way to start that film, because we hadn't seen Hawkeye, and all of a sudden we see him. Like,
and it's a cold open. No Marvel logos.
Yeah, that was great. Half the people in my thing were like, "Oh shit, it started."
Yeah. Well, we had everyone sort of struggling.
Yeah, I did two more before as well.
Did you?
Yeah. And nobody noticed, so I just said,
"I'm going to be broke." Well, that's all going back in my pocket anyway.
I'm not paying at all for this.
That's all right. I just brought this. This is just we'll call this a cold run. We'll just start with this, and then next week I'm charging everyone.
Okay.
Yes, but I think like it kind of had to start like that, and that is where I think it went to the Thor and that for the humour and that down the track, because it was lacking that at the start. It really came in as a full sort of drama in a way, and then they went, you know what, we're going to bring a bit of humour in here and chuck a few jokes in, and it starts to liven up and lighten up a bit. But I love the characters. I was invested enough in those characters over 11 years that I was happy to see them go through a little bit of torment, because generally they're kicking ass and taking names anyway. Man. This time they kind of weren't, and they'd been beaten down badly by a really bad guy.
They needed to have those ramifications.
And the first time they'd really been beaten. I mean, Ultron, they'd taken over him, they'd taken over the other guys from Avengers.
Can you guys remind me, what was the moment, because I loved the moment when it said 5, and I just went, what? Then it goes, years. I was like, yes. And later I was like, cool, what the hell? Yeah. Like, I did not see that coming.
Yeah.
What happened just before that?
Oh, they killed Thanos.
That was that. Yes, that's right. I was like, this is a big thing. They killed him.
First 20 minutes of the film.
That's right. Okay, and so to my mind, so the first act, basically, as far as I understand, goes all the way up until basically Ant-Man gets brought out.
Yeah. And the magic rat.
Yes, the magic rat. Deus Ex Ratica. So I like the fact that so often Ant-Man is used to inject comedy into these films, amongst other characters, obviously, and he's the reason that things get lighter. He's the one that generates the time heist. He's the one that comes in with a little bit of new information, new perspective, and he starts to go, all right, guys, maybe we could do a fun time. This will be fun. Time heist. And that's when the fun starts happening. I just think it's interesting that they used him as the way into that, and I think that's not only really nice just for entertainment, but like kind of in the foundations of the universe. when we see him, we lighten up anyway.
But just remember,
and he brings with him that tone.
But he also had to see his daughter, and that scene shocked me.
Yeah,
I was actually really quite taken.
When she came out of the blurry,
because you think you haven't seen him for 5 years, and Paul Rudd was crying, and you're like, wow, he's really he did really well in that scene, and I thought that's exactly what would happen.
And I think we're all owed that because you don't have an event like the what's it called the diminishing or the decimation.
What are those? The decimation. Yeah.
You don't have an event like that and not give it time to breathe. Sure that you can say the characters have had to deal with it, and you can see them at the end of them dealing with it, or you get to have a chance to be like, wow, you guys are really in it. You know, like one of my favorite scenes in that first hour is Nat when she's having those phone calls.
Yeah.
You know, and she starts to have the sandwich and she has the chat with Captain America, and it's like, wow, you've got nothing but this, and like she's almost like the voice of the audience in a way where it's like, I found this thing. I found this story, I found this journey that I can be a part of, and as long as I can look after it or I can be a part of it, it means something. So I really that sort of whole sequence spoke to me. But yeah, I think Paul Rudd was used like a fine knife.
Yeah, a
every
little
now and again, just going, it's okay, we'll get there. But
put in the right spots.
Thor, on the other hand, we'll get into that unless you want to get into that now, but I did not appreciate his comedy.
No,
I guess the other thing I would say quickly about Ant-Man is you show how much Ant-Man and the Wasp, that film is important to it, because he goes into the quantum realm.
Yes, of course.
I kind of wrote it off and went, it's kind of
that
an
movie is almost like the
outside.
expositional explanation.
It is, but I kind of
justifies
thought, a bit of fun,
here.
outside, but there's so much in that film that actually set this film up.
There's
it really
a lot,
does, and you go, okay, it's not just a whimsical
I wonder
film.
about that. I mean, we can probably. I'll write it down to mention later, but I didn't write anything. I just pretend I did.
You just said something.
I just wrote the word "witch." Doesn't really help me. I circled it though. I circled
which is which?
That's right. Which is with name tags, so they know which is which. Do you think there's a minimum number of films that people need to watch to be able to get these last two movies?
That's a good question.
Would it be 6? Would it be 10? Because I tried to figure out what I think. If I had to recommend, like I was talking to my parents the other day, and they haven't seen the last couple of movies. They like them, but they haven't, they're not going rushing to theatres. And I was like, "Oh, please, Mum, like make sure you see." And I was
I'd say Civil War.
Both Avengers. I want them both to see
Iron Man,
both Avengers.
Captain America.
I'd say
first one.
I think you need Captain America 2 and Civil War.
Well, definitely Iron Man 1.
More than Captain America 1, I think.
Captain America 1, mate.
I think there's a bare minimum, or you need to see Civil War and Infinity War.
Okay.
Let's assume that, like, when we're talking about which movies to see beforehand, Infinity War is part of that.
Yeah,
of course.
I would say the bare minimum is Civil War. The absolute bare minimum.
Well, that's got pretty much all the characters in it.
All the characters and all the sort of, like, precursors to things that need to be resolved outside of maybe Thor. So maybe like Ragnarok and Civil War.
Okay.
And then I think every character is covered. Like Ant-Man's present, you understand who he is.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily know his whole story.
Yeah. No,
but he says in Infinity War, like, in Endgame, like, I was in the quantum realm. You're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, there's some nice little.
That's why you need the original Captain America
work.
for the time travel. That's why you need that, so you can go back and see Peggy and those characters in that time period. Iron Man would just be so you know where his origin comes from.
Yeah.
And they mention him in Endgame or whatever they say.
But in Civil War, you get to see Peggy's funeral. You understand the value of Peggy to Cap.
Yeah, of course.
And then he kisses her.
But then you lack that time period.
To me, in my brain, I can only discount I can only discount about 3 or 4 films before I start to go. Don't know if I want to trim any more of the fat. Like,
do we need the Thors?
I mean, I like the middle Thor, but you're right. Maybe not too many of the Thors.
I don't know if we need the Thors.
I also don't think we need the Black Panther.
We don't. Well, you don't need Black Panther at all because he's a great character.
And I don't think we need.
Black Panther isn't a great character. The villain, Michael B. Jordan's character.
Yes.
He was a great character.
Yes, well,
I think Black Panther was a good character in.
He's so boring.
I think he was a good character in Civil War, and that's it.
Yeah, because he had mystery and I love Black Panther. I did not like it, but like, I don't find T'Challa particularly interesting. His sister is. The world around him is. His villain absolutely is. What's his name? Warmonger.
Killmonger. Eric Killmonger.
But my word, by comparison, he's so like.
I find. Yeah,
but sometimes you need, like, I think we talked about this before, like the vanilla character, which is Captain America.
Sure.
So I think he's kind of that in that world. And I think that we'll see more of Black Panther as it grows. I do. I think he's just the straight down the line character. Then you've got the funny.
No, he starts off as that.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Over time.
Well, he starts joking about his butt. They've gone away from vanilla, but
but like his entire sense of what's right and wrong disappears in his second movie.
No, it doesn't.
No, he's very.
It's exactly
direct.
the same. The world around him changes, and he goes, right, I have to keep true to what I do all the time.
Well,
he doesn't change any moral choices or anything like that.
He changes from thinking that the world is black and white to realising it's grey.
He carries on the Civil
That's
War.
Why,
That's the problem with Tony.
But that's what I mean. In Civil War, he does something he normally wouldn't do. Is he looks after his mate and goes against the rest of the world. He does a selfish thing.
Knowing that the right thing to do is to stop these other assassins.
Yeah,
and
but he still goes against establishment. Whereas in the first movie, all he does is go with establishment. Like that's what gives him. That's why he's called freaking Captain America.
Because he leaves the army.
And that's why he gives up
to go break out Bucky in the first movie. He always chooses what is right, and that never stops.
That's true, but he does learn that the world is different to the way he thinks, and he stops fighting for the truth for somebody else and starts fighting for it for himself.
Because he thought they were one and the same.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
that doesn't change him.
No, I reckon he was. The only thing that he does is Endgame, where he does for himself, which is when he stays in time.
Which is the complete opposite to what he does in the first movie, which is sacrifice himself.
But he doesn't sacrifice himself. He goes, what? I want to go back and I want to be with Peggy.
Yeah,
she was married as well. Let's not forget.
No. So I'm saying,
we'll get into timey-wimey stuff in a bit.
No, but that's the only time I saw him went against his thing.
In Endgame, is the first time he's done something big and selfish. He did something small and selfish to save Bucky, and in that he does something big and selfish, as opposed to his first thing he did, which was give up his life for everybody else, and gave up the girl for everybody else. Whereas in Endgame, he does the opposite of that, does something selfish, and gets his happy ending.
But he jumped on a grenade in training in Captain America. Like, if that was a real grenade, he would have just died then and we would have run credits.
That's true, but
that's
again,
what I mean. There's so many inherent things about him that are just
he's just
constant.
So good. Like that's
I know, right?
Also, I don't think he's a bad character. I think he's great.
Yeah, okay. I just don't. I just think. Yeah,
I think he's T'Challa.
To me, yes,
way more boring.
Yes, no, I think T'Challa's more.
Dear.
Okay,
anyway,
that was a side dive. That was nice.
We can never stay with it.
Let's do a quick overview of the things we liked about Endgame. Mm-hmm. Just a real quick overview, and then we'll get into some of the stuff that we had problems with.
All right, do you want to start us off?
Yeah. So for me, as we've already said, loads of stories to deal with, resolving a good proportion of them, and some of them have been like 10 years long, along with the callbacks. Like, holy crap, so many callbacks. Mm-hmm. Like
the elevator scene.
Elevator scene. Yeah. I mean, on your left. Mm-hmm. I mean, I am Iron Man. I mean, blah blah blah. But they just go and go and go. So many just lovely. Just so many things.
Yep.
I think the time travel felt fine to me. I don't think some people have problems with it. I'm kind of like, it's time travel. However they define it is what I kind of hold it against. If they define it as this type of time travel, then I'm willing to go along with that. Yeah. As far as I'm aware, there's only two concepts of time travel, and one is it's a line and you go back and rewrite the same line versus multiverse.
Yeah.
But then you also have ones like Back to the Future, which does both, which says an alternate timeline can be created, but then you can go back to the original timeline, which doesn't make sense to me.
Before the time you made the split.
Yes, that's right. You have to go before it. Yes, okay. But yeah, I felt pretty good about that.
Yeah, time travel was cool.
I liked the 5-year jump. That was really interesting to me. Oh yeah, I also like the time travel basically let us go through the greatest hits of
Thor: The Dark World. Yeah. You're the only person.
Thor: The Dark World. I looked at my list, my ranking. Thor: The Dark World is my 9th favourite MCU film.
Can I point out?
It's crazy.
Can I point out that I have not seen The Dark World? That's the only one of the.
It's written by the same guys who wrote these
Captain
ones.
Marvel.
That's fine. That doesn't mean it's good.
There's so many good jokes in it. It's really funny. It's my favourite Thor by far. Where he's funny, but he's not a goofball because that's.
Clearly, I didn't need it to get where we are today.
You didn't need it, but there would be way more resonance for you when Thor goes back to Frigga.
That's true.
Because that's on the same day that's set in Thor: The Dark World.
So, and I presume Natalie Portman is in The Dark World.
Oh, I'm pretty sure.
She's
from the cutting room floor.
No, but is she in the film?
Oh, sorry, yes.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's probably just a cut that they would have signed off many years ago and saying you're basically contracted to use your image for 5 seconds.
Totally.
And probably paid her $2 million.
I noticed I'm just going through my list. It's okay, I'll just keep going. I've got a couple more.
Yeah, keep running it.
I really like that Tony had a daughter. When I realised he had a daughter, I was like, oh my god, that's so cool. Like, this is what he needs, you know?
Well, they talked about it to start
being a
of
womanising
Infinity
prick.
War, didn't they?
He said, I had this dream.
Yeah, but he said him, and I'm going to name him after my eccentric Uncle Morgan. Your eccentric Uncle Morgan, talking to Pepper. But yeah, that was glorious. Really liked that. Liked Captain fighting himself. That was cool.
Good butt.
What about you guys?
Okay.
Kind of favourite couple of things. You don't have to necessarily go into favourite.
Sure. I liked all the reunions at the end. So not just on your left, but like how in that last 40 minutes you get to see everyone doing all the things. There's so much fan service.
Oh, yes.
Anything you could dream of
Leviathan
pretty much happened. Well, how about like Valkyrie coming out on a Pegasus? Sorry, I had to swear. It's a Pegasus.
It was part of a swear word. He edited himself.
You've got the one moment that made me literally just yell in the theatre when Thor's hammer comes to Captain.
What did you yell?
I went, oh yeah!
And some little kid next to him started crying.
No, because
the big hairy guy's yelling.
So me and Christian have had this conversation many times.
Yes, I want to talk about that
about seeing event movies specifically with a day one crowd who are hyped and excited.
The ones that applaud.
Well, who cheer and scream and hoot and holler.
I've got a story about a day one. I'll explain it later on. It's not good. Anyway, keep going.
No, but versus the idea of seeing it in a more quiet space so that you can sort of appreciate what the auteurs have made. I very much value the charged and excitement, especially in an event film like this.
Yeah.
When a moment like that happened, and I wasn't the only idiot because I was surrounded by idiots who went, this is so good, isn't this good? Yeah. And we all just like positivity is infectious. Totally. People smile and laugh next to you. You feel like smiling and laughing, even if you're trying to actively resist it. It's quite an experience. But things that I like, Professor Hulk.
I love that.
I like Professor Hulk. I like time travel stuff as well, of course. I love that they just took out Thanos straight away. I think that was really good. Like,
that was meeting expectation.
Get rid of.
Well, we're not doing that.
Figure it out. Mm-hmm. Now it's a new story to tell, which I really liked. I like that they didn't actually actively set up too much for like Phase 4, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, me too.
I kind of like doing. Some people are still alive.
Oh yeah, they were concentrating on all the things.
They
were concentrating on all the things that were like present and immediate in our brains, and that's I really.
But it gives me hope that they're trying to not do clean slate, but basically go, we're going to rebuild something special again.
Yeah,
we don't want it to tie into everything again, and I really like that idea. Yeah, we're only talking about likes at the moment.
That'll do for now.
Yeah. Oh, definitely the big kick-ass scene when everyone rocks up. I mean, come on. How many films have you seen when so many superheroes, particularly the girls? I know there's that shot where it rocks. I was just sitting there, I was like, this is awesome, because every girl, including like Pepper Potts and all that, and then the Wasp flies in, and you're like, man, the girl's going to kick absolute ass. I'm throwing a coin in, that's an ass word. But I love that. I just love seeing all those characters together. It's just amazing. And working together. But think of a film where you've seen that. I mean, it's I don't think it's ever been done with that many actors in the same place.
And that's part
of
the historic context of this movie.
I did, as I said before, I loved the start with Hawkeye because I thought that was just a great way to start the film. And I loved Hawkeye's concept of him being Ronin and going around kicking us and taking out the bad guys. Yeah. And it gave him sort of a catalyst for Nat to chase after him and try and stop him. Yeah. And he'd become villainous. Yeah.
And he'd become like her, right? Yeah, that was... He'd become a killer, like just a killer, in the way that she saw herself.
But worse, and obviously the sequence between the two of them when they go to Red Skull and that scene goes on. As much as
that was great. As much as I'm going to kill myself.
I have a slight issue with that scene, but I did like that. I love the fact that those two characters rocked up to that place because they'd been through a lot since you met them, and we knew that one of them would have to go, and obviously they're stopping each other and all that sort of stuff. And they're my points. I really enjoy all those sort of things, but obviously, I mean. Let's not forget, like, as sad as it is, Tony and Captain at the end, just brilliant. I was sitting there. There's two times, I mean, obviously with Nat, but when Tony, which I knew was going to happen, because as soon as Doctor Strange kind of looks at him, I thought, he knows when he clicks his fingers, it's all over. Yeah. And I've got a 9-year-old son who's sitting next to me, and I'm watching the film, and it was packed cinema. And when it happened, and you see Iron Man all sort of barbecued up, and you knew that he was basically going to die. I just like I started choking, and I'm trying not to, because my son was next to me, and I'm like, do I cry in front of my son?
You definitely
and then he's kind of looked at me, and I've looked at him. We're both gone. this is really bad. Don't tell mum. It was just a great moment. And for him being a young boy singer and feeling the weight, but then also me being a 41-year-old dude feeling the weight, just goes to show the power of that film. Yeah, and the death of Tony.
And the power of the film's building up to it. Because that comes from, when he said, I am inevitable, and I was like, and he's like, I am, and I'm like,
well, it's the love of Robert Downey Jr. as well, and it's the love of that character,
and it's just like his way of saying,
unless time comes along and changes.
It's just a big fu to
So they're my moments. So some good stuff.
Since basically the spoiler embargo lifted from the creator's point of view on Monday, so there's been a lot of great interviews and things floating around.
Yes.
Have you heard the one about how the line "I am Iron Man" came to be?
Yes. I'm not sure at what point in terms of the.
Are we talking in this film?
Yeah, so it wasn't in the original script.
Okay.
No, it was never filmed.
Neither was it in the original shooting schedule.
Nothing. Okay. This is like late game editing.
Yeah.
Where I'm inevitable, click, and then there were a couple of versions where he didn't say anything, and then he
just clicked. He just clicked as well. He just smiled or whatever, clicked, or just made it just clicked.
And the editor's like, we need something else. So the director's like, we need something else, and the editor turns around and says, well, what if he says I am Iron Man?
Yeah,
like the first
like
one,
in the first movie, and they went, oh my god! And then the next day
they shot it.
The next day and just shot that clip. And it's like,
Robert, we need you back.
Yeah, they're just like, dude. And
they probably just found him anywhere on wherever he was and threw a green screen behind him.
Dude, can we
that's just
And I mean, imagine like, of course, he would have been like, yes, where do you need me? Like, that is amazing. That's what we need.
Yeah.
And like, I think that's the best way. I mean, I'm ever so slightly, I don't know whether I'm cynical about it, but I love how easily you can create meaning by repeating something that you said at the very beginning of something. Innuendo. No, I didn't do it right. I was going to say innuendo. By repeating the same thing, and people will just attribute meaning to it because of what's come since.
Okay. Of course.
Do you know what I mean? But I don't mean so that's basically me knowing that there's a trope you can use in writing, but that doesn't take away from the fact that it's freaking amazing when you use it really well.
Yeah.
And I think that was.
But we get that with things like Terminator as well. When we get a new film and someone says, "I'll be back."
May the force be with you.
May the force be with you. Yeah. And the way they've done that in Star Wars is really good because some have been throwaway, which is brilliantly done.
Yeah, right? and the same like a throwaway when Captain America. I mean, I didn't think it worked amazingly, but when Captain America said "and Hulk." Smash. Like, that's just a way to grab a line that normally would have been said in a really clunky way when Hulk says it himself or whatever. I think he even did that in Incredible
But did he
Hulk.
say, and Hulk smash?
Yeah.
Or something like that? Like,
he goes, and Hulk
is in Avengers
smash.
1.
This is Avengers 1.
But in the new one, doesn't he say something? He goes, shouldn't you smash something? Or he says something. And he goes,
degrading or something, demoralizing.
Which is brilliant. A callback to that one as well, which is really cute in that scene. And he'd seen the old him, which was great as well, smashing things, which I loved. He was like, oh dear.
I love how all his arc is pretty much always happened off screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
there are some issues with that. There's like a lot of issues with things, but
So all right. Well, let's talk. Is there anything else that we really love? Because I really like the music. The music.
Alan and Celestine?
Right. Like, how beautiful and horribly sad was it when Tony's leaving his message at the very beginning, and he's like emaciated, and then there's this beautiful. I don't know what it's called yet, but I've been listening to it a bit. This beautiful, I think it's called The Real Hero or A Real Hero or something, but playing underneath, really, really quiet, totally opposite to the powerful, surging stuff. Just this really somber, and then even like that same theme plays at the funeral scene at the end, but it's
with his speech at the end.
Yeah. Right.
Oh God, bring it back to things that we liked. Happy talking to Morgan at the end.
Yeah, brilliant.
And it's like, how are you good? Yeah, and it's like your dad loved cheeseburgers, which is another callback to Iron Man 1. And
beautiful.
Like, oh my God, what are you guys doing to me?
What I really like is that she just like okay. Oh, I thought she was fantastic, by the way.
Yeah, I've got a question. How much of that is acting versus how much is that her just being a child?
Exactly,
yeah,
exactly,
perfect.
right? Yeah, right.
It's
and
perfect.
like the fact that you sense in that moment that she doesn't really get it, but she's like, okay, and it's like he's like John Cheeseburger. She's like, okay, and it's like, oh, that's and he's the one that's knowing what's going on. And he's the one that we see the emotion in his face, and just like. So.
But what about two cool action sequences? Blowing the shit out of the base when they're all in there.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
It was just
when Ant-Man goes, when Ant-Man goes like,
I believe that.
They leveled that. When Ant-Man's like, I think it worked. I just went, loved it.
And they're all trapped downstairs.
They all lived was a bit much.
It's a bit, surely, out of all of them, Ant-Man should have died.
But he goes small. You can
see a second way.
Having watched it again, it's Hawkeye that should have died.
Hawkeye should have died. He's the human.
Oh my God.
Even the raccoon would have died, surely, because it's a huge explosion. And also Roddy, because, he's down there as well.
If they'd kept up the
They're in the
Iron
top
Door
when it
protocol,
blew
though.
up.
You know how you got the door shut?
Yeah.
But
They
that
weren't-
sequence
yeah.
just.
But you notice as well how I'd put this down to this again. They used Ant-Man to say, "I think we did it," because he's there, and even the other characters going, "Oh, little puppy," like when Rocket's calling him a little puppy, like, yeah, he's the one that will have hope. He's the one that will, you know.
Yeah.
And then they used him to go, "I think it worked," and you could feel like everyone just was like, God, this is...
Yeah,
oh no!
Come on,
like really lovely.
There's that one action
really
sequence,
nice.
and then there's the kick-ass Captain Marvel just flying through.
Yeah, that shot
where she just
and
goes.
Rocket's the one who goes, "Oh yeah."
Well, you can see it coming, and you're like, "Where is she?" Like,
when all the
rocked
guns
up.
turn up into the clouds, you're just like, "I think this is." Oh,
yeah, that big that lightning bolt, and he's just like, "Man, when the dropped Thanos' ship, I was like, that is such a good sequence." It just, you know, and Thanos is looking up, and he's just like, "Oh." What?
Speaking of beautiful shots, the one of just Cap against the army before the portals start to open, like this huge wide shot, and he's just standing there looking.
Oh yeah, against all the aliens.
See, that's really upsetting. I didn't see that shot.
What? Are you crying?
No, somebody in the audience made a noise.
It was Paul. He yelled out.
And I genuinely, like, sorry, I don't remember seeing. I in both times I saw it, I don't remember seeing that shot.
Oh man,
I want
it printed
because that's the shot. That's the shot just before the biggest catharsis in the film.
Yeah,
and I'm really annoyed.
Both times.
What happened both times? We sit near the same person.
The second time, no. The second time, somebody cleared their throat or something in the middle of the silent bit.
What, you couldn't
see? And the first time, somebody did this or moved or coughed or something, and I thought there was something wrong with him. So I looked down and looked back up, and in the half second, I missed that shot.
All he did, listeners, is shuffled in his chair slightly, just because they can't see what you're doing.
Something like that.
That's one thing they did, and the other one they did the second time was shuffling their chair, just so the listeners understand what you've just done. Because
you've actively chose to look away.
Both times.
No, I was concerned. Because I made a noise.
I'll be concerned after the next shot. It's fine.
Well, I'll
make sure, again.
I'll make sure we watch it together for the third time, and I'll do something in
exactly your eyelids open.
Yeah. Two things.
All right,
so we've had some awesome stuff.
That moves us on nicely to things that we have problems with.
Okay.
So.
All right, the rat on the car.
Why?
Because it's dumb.
Why?
Because it.
Do you think that would never happen?
No, I don't think that would never happen.
In 5 years, do you think that would never happen?
Well, I don't know. It's a sealed car. It didn't exactly have holes in it. Why?
How do you know it's a
Hang
sealed
on,
car?
can you refresh me?
It's a rat.
So the
is this
rat
with Ant-Man?
brings down the
dashboard of the van.
Okay.
Like, how about this? You have people who are looting the area.
Yes.
Like, what is this? And it comes on. Like, something that's more active, something more believable than like, well, I guess we'll just happenstance wait for a rat to walk
hang
in.
on, let's discuss
I think your criticism is fair, but I think it would be less forgivable if a human being did it. Less forgivable as a story device, because then they could go like, oh, you that's just the writers being those characters. Where if it's a rat, it's like dehumanized in a way, and we can go like, I guess I don't really understand rats. I guess that could happen. Like, there's an element of vagueness to it that I think works in their favour.
Well, let's think about the van first. And I read this online.
Yes.
The van is then left with the back doors open after everyone disappears in a dust and Ant-Man's No, this is true.
And apparently,
So someone's going to walk along and see what a massive
How do you know he didn't shut it?
nuclear weapon. It's
Who shut it?
Who shut it?
Ant-Man.
No. He was stuck in the quantum realm, and the rest of them disappeared in the dust. So the van.
This is the end of Ant-Man.
So what I'm saying is, someone walks along and goes, "Hey, there's a neutron bomb in the back of this van." All of a sudden, they just put it in storage. I read this online. It's so true. Wouldn't a scientist rock up and go, "Hang on, that's Hank Pym's or whatever"?
Not necessarily. I mean, whenever
that's
people
strange.
No, but this is the thing. Whenever people make these assumptions, like, oh, they didn't think of this connectivity issue, it's like, yeah, but do you think they could come up with a reason why it did happen like that? And I go, yeah.
I could see that.
That's
more
fine.
I could see it more in a science.
I could think of a reason why that.
I'm more okay with the storage idea than I am the rat, because someone can see someone's vehicle and be like, right, it's not supposed to be here. We'll tow it, or and then
government agents.
It's the same day as the decimation. They go
exactly.
Right, we're just going to put this away for now.
And what about if anybody who's ever worked for Hank Pym or anybody who's ever worked with Ant-Man went, oh, let's look them up. Oh shit, they left their tech here. Let's clean up after them.
Okay.
That's totally plausible.
But the rat is dumb.
Okay, so the
I
rat's
think it's dumb.
Well,
I think you could argue that no rats ever crawled across that area of the.
That's
I mean,
not
it's
the point. That's
of
like
course
when,
it is.
It's like in Empire Strikes Back.
You got to look at
when Luke is
probability.
out surveying the area and
Here
he
we
happens to see the thing land in the snow. Like, what are the chances of that entire planet while he's walking under his tom-tom? The only dude out there.
That's not the only one that lands on that planet.
It doesn't matter. It's so dumb.
But they fire off about 1,000.
Well, okay, that's like fair enough.
Just remember that.
1,000?
Because remember, they're bombing that place.
I'll give you like 3.
No, because remember, Han takes one out, Chewie.
Yeah.
They are
That's
going
the
around.
same one.
Yeah, but no, it's not. It's not. It's a different one.
It's the same area?
No. It's pretty sure it's different ones that are landing. Yeah.
Well, you've certainly as far as the podcast goes, you did give a suggestion.
The rap was terrible.
You did but you did give us. He did give a suggestion. So his criticism is duly made, fairly made.
I'll stick with that one and hear you guys say.
Yeah. Oh, what? Sorry, what was you?
I won't say anything else that I didn't like till I hear from you guys.
Oh, sure. Oh, okay.
Well, I'll throw one out there.
Yeah, go for
it. The death of Black Widow.
Oh, okay, go for it. Why?
Because aren't you supposed to sacrifice someone that you love to get the stone? As in Thanos threw Gamora down there and then got the stone. Technically, she committed suicide.
Yeah, of course.
So there's no sacrifice. No, that's her sacrificing, but he didn't throw her down. And
there's nothing that says you have to force another person. All it says is there has to be a sacrifice of something you love. It doesn't say you have to do it. And he does lose something that he loves. And it doesn't say you have to throw anybody. It doesn't say... Just says there must be a sacrifice. There just has to be a soul for a soul. That's it. I mean,
you have to give up something you love.
Yeah.
And he's there trying to stop it, but it had to happen. And she's like, "Please let me go."
And he loves her. And so it doesn't say you have to willingly give up something you love,
doesn't she?
But he doesn't say
she pushes herself off
the
wall,
wall,
which forces him to let go.
But then it means she's given up something she loves. Means she's given up herself, which means she loves herself.
No, she didn't give anything up.
Well, she pushed herself away. She sacrificed herself.
But it's something that he loves.
Exactly. Yeah. It doesn't say. It doesn't say you. There's no rule, as far as I'm aware, that says you have to be the one to actively give up the thing you love. It just you have to lose something you love.
They're both there with the intent of wanting the soul stone.
Why wouldn't you just throw down a teddy bear or something like that?
Because it doesn't
die.
Love. It has to have a soul.
Yeah, it has to be a soul.
Small animal.
It has to be someone you love.
A kitten or why take one of your friends?
Because they didn't know that's what they had to do.
Thanos gave away a daughter that he loved.
Yeah, well, take that rat from the van.
No one loves that rat. Actually, Christian loves that rat.
I don't mind it. I can be friends with it. I'm pen pals with that rat.
I'm going to buy you a rat for your birthday.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Oh, why not?
Have a little...
Might draw over your piano and cry.
He'll just have it in his car.
Okay. Because it's not. Wait, could it be the Ant-Man?
Maybe.
No, yes.
No one's saying. Is it impossible that it can be?
Okay. So you kind of already did, but can you think of, again, spirit of the podcast, can you think of any other suggestion that you think would have worked better for you?
Oh, that's a tough one.
Would you have had them take somebody else with them? Would you have had them try to throw Red Skull down there?
Well, I couldn't, because he's already passed over. Isn't he some sort of mystical being?
Yes,
now
he
can't actually
he kind of floats.
Yeah, he floats.
It's a tough one, because now you've kind of confused me into believing that you guys are right with what you've said, but I thought...
Assume we weren't. How would you redo that scene?
Because it's a tough one, because then someone has to die, right? Mm-hmm. So who would be worth dying?
But I mean, and think about all the heavy lifting that death does. I mean, I'm not completely sold on the two people who sacrifice themselves in the Soul Stone are both women. I'm not completely sold on that. They apparently land in the exact same position or close to it as well.
I think that was just for symmetry's sake.
But I do think it has a lot of weight in terms of her storyline, Red in the Ledger, etc., etc. It's a beautiful thing. She does it for Hawkeye, so that he doesn't have to lose his family.
For her family,
and for the team, and for her family, which is very good point. Her family, which is the team. That's a very I wouldn't necessarily say perfect, but it's a lovely resolution to her arc.
Well, what about possibly putting Gamora and Nebula there?
Okay.
And then Nebula this time sacrifices and dies, because Gamora has already died. So let's put some way we work it in that they're together.
See, that's pretty good. That's not bad.
And
but do you think we would feel anything for that?
Because at that stage we've done a little bit of work on her character. Because we've already done a little bit of work on her character to start to like her. and we already know that she kind of hated Gamora for so many episodes. But it's the same sacrifice, it's the same family, but we lose the other.
But it's not the same family, because we need to see the Avengers all really sad after that death, in order for the rest of the story to
we don't
need
it. We've already seen it sad enough.
I think they were already coalesced together in their mission.
That's true.
But I could see that working where new Nebula, current Nebula, goes to old Gamora and has that same conversation of I try to kill you, but we become sisters.
Yeah,
and Gamora's kind of doesn't know she's done it, but she's like, I'm going to step off the edge, and then Nebula's like, nah, and it goes.
Yeah, that's not bad.
That could work.
That's pretty good.
Okay,
but it's a much longer road to get them there against Thanos.
It is true.
You'd have to write a few more scenes to get them there.
Yeah, okay. No, I can write those scenes, because I'll just take out all the ones that we've written about Hawkeye and just drop them in instead.
Can I talk about an extension off that? So there's a concept called fridging.
Yes, I've heard this term.
Yeah, so apparently this is a trope. I don't know where it comes from in terms of fridge, but this concept called fridging, where traditionally male writers of stories of films will have a female character. It's the kind of damsel in distress, but they have a female character get injured or killed in order to make it acceptable for a male character to get upset and feel motivated to continue through the rest of the story. Do you think so? I bring this up because there's been some rumblings of that for Nat's character, and yeah. So the conclusion that I've kind of come to is that I can see that could be a criticism of this moment. I think the fact that Nat does it herself makes a difference, but then you could also argue that it's male writers doing that to the character. But I think it all comes back to the fact that these are male stories. These aren't primarily female stories, and until you've got primarily female stories, you inevitably will have this potentially still happening.
I think if her choice made less sense, you could have reversed those roles, and it would still have made just as much sense to me. Like if Nat was holding onto Hawkeye, and he said, "Let me go, please," and jumped off again, in the exact same way. Like to me, they were so equally matched, both in the fight scene, but like emotionally, like they were both there. Like, yeah, we both got red in our ledger now. We both fucked up.
Yeah, but you knew he was going to be reunited with his family.
No, we wanted him to be reunited.
We wanted it, but we knew it was coming. Because we set up the film with his losing his family.
But what if it was Nat who had to come back after the snap?
It's
and
true.
Be like, hey, Buttons, tough deal.
Yeah, I know. But that setup was
so awful.
That setup was there because his daughter, when he was texting his daughter,
terrible.
we kind of knew that was going to come through. And that's why she sacrificed herself as well, is because she was lonely and he had a family and he had to stay around and she had to pull him in the line.
Plus the new Disney Plus TV show,
plus the new series Hawkeye, which is coming. So that's another one we kind of like. It's good.
Yeah.
Any other dislikes?
Can I also bring up again? This is a grey area. So we celebrated just before the awesome moment where all the female characters joined forces. As I watched it, I was both really pleased to see that kind of thing, but also a little bit. I didn't think it was ideal. It did feel a little bit tokenistic, a little bit shoehorned in. The fact that it's just like, look what we're doing. We're collecting all the women, even though there's all these other dudes around, but the women just happen to get together and rush in.
That's happening in a lot of films now.
It doesn't, but I'm just saying, like, it kind of, I think it's a lovely gesture, but I also do think, and this is...
If it wasn't all of them, it might have felt a little less tokenistic.
Maybe. So if somebody that I was listening to said that maybe what if Thor came up and said, "Oh great, what are we doing?" or something, or jumped in and there was just the one or two guys, but it was mostly female led, it might feel less like a token gesture. I mean, again, a really worthy, a great token gesture, really lovely, but
that was it was a girl power scene.
I know, but
you don't want that.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah, you don't want to be like, "Oh look."
I think it's just as fan servicey as Thor getting the hammer.
Yeah. And if you're a young girl that's watching that, and all of a sudden you're going bang, 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 bang,
I have
every
heard
character rocks up,
and
that's awesome.
But yeah, I mean, I've listened to some other podcasts and I've heard some intelligent women make these kind of comments. I'm like, yeah, okay. As a dude, I'm going to keep thinking about that. About this idea of is it positive discrimination? Is it? Are we going we're giving the ladies their turn as well?
More than their turn. That whole sequence includes multiple instances of men and women just kicking ass.
Valkyrie, just like you said, Valkyrie, Zerkin,
and obviously Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel's arguably the strongest.
God, when she gets headbutt by Thanos and doesn't even hinge,
that is so cool.
He takes the Power Stone out of the glove just to be able to punch her.
Yes,
it's so good.
That doesn't even mess up her short hair, her cropped hair.
And I love the moment where she's like, Peter's like, "Hi, I'm Peter Parker," and she's like, "Hey, Peter Parker,
you got something for me?
You got something for me?" It's
we got Pepper Potts going around in the new Iron Man suit.
I love that. She's apparently called Rescue,
which is cool to see.
When they go back to back,
Gwyneth Paltrow lining up with the rest of the characters. It's good to see. Black Panther's sister, Shuri. I mean, and the Wasp is awesome. I do like. I mean, I suppose a crush on Evangeline. I'll be honest, but since the Lost days,
Lost did a lot to us.
Yeah,
I suppose. And
Matthew Fox.
My default is to err on the side of going all right, but just try to be very aware of the female perspective on that kind of thing. But yeah, I still thought it was a beautiful moment. Yes, my habit is to try to listen to the naysayers with that kind of stuff. But
you got to hear both sides.
Yeah.
All right. So
do you guys? I have quite a few more things that I didn't love, but none of mine are strong dislikes, with possibly the exception of Thor.
Yeah, I was about to say. I think we have the same strong dislike.
But everything else is just kind of
not a good thing, but it is written down.
Should we talk about Fat Thor?
Yeah, let's.
So I'd like to first talk about: do you think it's fat shaming to have him as Fat Thor?
No,
that's come up a bunch.
I don't. As a relatively plump man myself, I think my body size is actually bigger than his in terms of his proportional fatness.
Okay.
I didn't feel that it was fat shaming. I thought it was an appropriate response to the real issue, which is him suffering PTSD. Feeling failure and all those sort of things. Like, as a character decision, I went, wow, cool.
Yes, I thought that as well, yeah.
But that he just got stuck as in terms of his, I guess this is the writer's choice, just staying like comic relief and Big Lebowski and like, they just went too far that way. They never kept pulling him back to show the actual struggle.
His pain felt silly. Yeah. To me, his pain felt silly, and I was like, "This is really serious." And
because he was a drunk as well.
But I mean,
but it kept going.
It felt like sitcom. It felt like sitcom PTSD.
But that's why I felt like Thor was there to bring humour.
But you could have done it better.
I totally agree. But
I think about you know that. Sorry, we watched Infinity War last night today, right? And looking at that Thor. Even seeing him post Ragnarok, I could see that he was funnier and a little bit sillier, but he was still very dry.
Well, he was holding on to the weight of what had just happened as well.
Exactly, right? And so when he says, he gets teary and he tries to make light of things, and but he's never silly, he's never giggly. And so it doesn't feel like Thor to me. Like Thor Ragnarok didn't feel like Thor to me, but it's like, because, okay. So the issue that I have with Thor Ragnarok, I won't go into it too much, but that carries over into this film is, a demigod wouldn't talk like this. Hey, I'm just a guy from down the street. It's like, no, what are you doing? All you're doing is making fun of yourself. Like, you're not saying anything. You're not making comment on anything. You've got this beautiful, I think, a really interesting choice of having somebody who's put on weight, who's used to being perfect, and this gradual breakdown of him from being this perfect, indestructible ideal, who's so arrogant about it, that's his flaw, through to this fallible, podgy, melted ice cream dude. And they just kind of kept making... There was some definite moments where you're just like, oh, this is a really sad moment. But so many of them, I think, were misjudged and turned into... into like his whole explanation of the ether and all this stuff. I was just like,
But I feel like we've done enough with Thor anyway. I felt like by the times, even Infinity War, where he gets Stormbreaker and Ragnarok when he's full of lightning and he's done everything. We've seen the best of Thor. We've seen the perfect Thor. And the only way they could travel ahead was to make him slightly fallible.
And again, the choice I like, it's the execution I don't like.
I kind of expected to see like a Rocky montage of him like getting in shape.
Oh, I'm glad they didn't do that.
No, but that's what I meant. That they didn't was a great thing that they pulled back as well. But I agree that, and they made him a drunk and they made him all this stuff. Even when he saw his mum and all that, he was still bumbling around.
Yeah, like when he
was too timid to see people.
I'm losing it. I was like, no, what are you doing? That's not cool.
I'm totally from the future.
Yeah, right. Like, why is he talking like that? Like, he's not in a sitcom.
But he still didn't amp up at the end and go ape. I think,
he did. And like the moment of him calling Stormbreaker and Mjolnir, and having that moment,
and his beard braided itself. Like, that's just cool.
All cool. Didn't lose the fact. Like, I would have loved that moment way more if I felt more seriously about the pain he was going through. Yeah, which I didn't.
But maybe we'd seen enough. Maybe we'd seen enough of the somber pain of everyone that maybe we had to kind of see someone who was. But because he even had what we need is they had the bug and the rock in the lounge room as well. So like as soon as they from Ragnarok, I can't remember their names, Korg and that. So straight away, Korg. So as soon as you rock up, they're playing a PlayStation and that, and they're eating pizza.
That's fine,
of course. But he doesn't have to be silly.
Yeah, but you've already said as soon as you open the door and you see that, you're like, you know where this is going. This is almost Ragnarok humour that's carried over.
Exactly.
It's just spilled into it.
That's why it's not good.
And maybe Chris Hemsworth was like, I don't really want to be Thor 1, I want to be the new Ragnarok-y Thor because he was more
but to Christian's point, Infinity War version of him did that. I think it had a good balance between the two.
He hit all his marks already. I think that's the thing. What I'm saying.
Yeah, but that doesn't give you a free pass to do. All right, for the next 3 hours, you're going to be.
Yeah, you're going to be a different character.
See, but he's setting him up for Guardians of the Galaxy if he joins.
I so expect him to be in 5 minutes of that film.
But maybe that's why he is still slightly comical because he won't fit in with those guys.
But don't you think? No, but see, don't you think it would be better? I think it would be more interesting, and I think
Thor is all in the first 5 minutes.
No, but let him go. Like, let him be a part of Act 1's like. A MacGuffin to get the thing they need to finish off their journey.
Yeah, I think Thor is always more interesting when he plays against. So when he takes himself seriously, I don't think when he jokes and intentionally does jokes and mucks around, he takes up room and space that other characters in the film are already taking up. Like Ant-Man, Professor Hulk takes up that space in that film. But you can't have him be
one-dimensional.
But dare we say...
He's not. That's what I'm saying. To me, he's one-dimensional when he's funny.
But dare we say that
when he's
Thor
joking,
is
he's one-dimensional because he's not making...
character then through the series.
Exactly.
From Thor 1, where he's kind of this uppity...
Thor 1 into 2, he's pretty consistent.
But even
3, he goes off the rails.
Yeah, but then you got Avengers and all that. Ragnarok completely changes the landscape of Thor and
I don't think he's any more inconsistent in the Avengers than any other characters. Captain America is inconsistent into the Avengers and back into Winter Soldier because the Winter Soldier guy's playing much more serious. He's not as quippy.
But they also come down.
Yeah, but time has passed in that one. Like he's gone through all these missions and things, and he's figured a lot out.
That's true.
Whereas in Avengers, he's just come out of the ice, basically.
Yeah, that's true.
And this is his first. This is his first mission.
That's true.
He's just met these
guys.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and one of my least favorite moments that I know a lot of people have already been raving about is when Thor does that psychotic face to when he's like, "You're in charge." No, I know. You're the one who's in charge. To Peter, it's you. To Peter Quill at the end, and the argument, and he does those mental eyeballs. I'm like, are you a psycho? Like, I genuinely think like he doesn't feel like he's a person. He feels like he's unhinged.
Which would be amazing if that was the angle. Like you've gone through all this and you're in this place, but it just kept being played for laughs so much. I'm like, just pull it back so that I give a shit. Sorry,
that's the thing. Playing for laughs is one thing as well. I don't mind things being played for laughs if they have a point.
This is my children's lunch money.
If there's a point to them, if you're making a point, you know, when okay, I think I wrote it down.
Where is I like a man who's prepared.
Where's Thor?
Mine's all scribbled down on
raw
length pieces of paper.
Oh, okay, here he is. Oh shit, that's way too long.
There's another one.
Okay, blah, 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 blah.
Like
Thor works best when he's ignorant and dramatic. Rabbit, fire up the pod. When he says that in Infinity War, when he uses rabbit, and he thinks he's totally fine saying the word rabbit. That's funny because that's about his character and his ignorance. Or when he's dry and sort of cynical and teasing when he says never to Leah and then
all words are made up.
All words are made up. That's great.
Brilliant line.
Because he's not trying to be funny. He's just going, all words are made up. He's being arrogant. He's being cynical. He's correcting somebody. Thor making wacky jokes isn't Thor. Like when he says, he's a friend from work. Like when I saw that in the trailer, I was like, yeah, I can see why people would find that funny. But what you're doing is puncturing everything that Thor is and going like, imagine if Thor talked like a normal guy.
But that was suggested on the day by a kid that was there.
That line,
and you can tell when Thor talks about
funny line, they used it.
When Chris Hemsworth talks about like, oh, we just wanted to have more fun, and there wasn't any that much of a script in Thor Ragnarok. I'm going, I know, I can tell. Like that's why it doesn't really hold up as a I don't think it holds up very well.
I like it.
But it's funny for funniness' sake. Classic example of filmmakers thinking it's funny when an alien demigod talks like a dude from The Office. Yeah. So blah blah blah. Yeah, that's pretty much it. That's right. That's why. So Ragnarok and Thor in general, it's like it's almost as if he's saying, "Isn't fantasy dumb because it's not real? Because it's random and funny when fantasy characters talk like real people. Look how dumb fantasy is." And it's like all they're saying is, "Let's make fun of fantasy. Let's make fun of this fantasy character because he's the most fantastical one. If we make fun of it and puncture it, isn't that funny?" It's like, well, no, that's like teenage humor when all teenagers want to do is criticize everything.
But
then you're not building anything. You're not
making
a comment on society.
The whole film. Because you've got to remember, you've got so many other characters doing so many other things, and they have to put Thor in at some level where he...
Of course,
otherwise,
but there's no need to do nothing with him.
I know, but what I'm saying is like we are following so many story arcs, and we are really focusing on...
Yeah, one of which is his.
I know, but well, I beg to differ. It's really Tony and Cap that everyone wants to know what's happening, the main two characters. We know where...
Of course.
So Thor's in there, and he is a character, and like I said, I always almost feel like Thor had already been done by the time we got to that film. I feel like we'd seen everything, the best of Thor, and we were going to see
I'm not quite... I respect what you're saying, but I don't quite know what you mean by seeing the best of Thor. I think
I just think we'd seen Stormbreaker, we'd seen Ragnarok...
But I guess what you're saying, mate, are you saying you've seen all the things that you like the most about Thor?
Yeah, I just thought we'd stretched his story enough. I mean, I feel like he was... To me, he was like... He kind of was done. That's the way I felt. And then when I saw him as chubby Thor, I was like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
That surprised me, because I was kind of like, is he going to be Thor again? We're going to see him. He's going to be fit as hell. He's going to be doing, he's going to lift the rocks down on a beach somewhere.
It's a great left turn.
So it's a great left turn. So we, as an audience, we were shocked because we're like, okay, they must have felt like they'd seen Thor enough one way, and they've gone, we're going to do this to flip it on everyone. That's the way I feel.
But Ragnarok flipped him.
Yeah, but Ragnarok is taken off in a completely different area and time, in that world, I guess. And obviously, Taika Waititi, or whatever his name was, had a lot of fun with it. And there's a lot that happens in Ragnarok that bleeds into the other ones, but I kind of felt like it was a piss take as well of the Marvel universe. But Jesus,
that's why I didn't like it.
But there's some bloody good stuff in that film. I was watching just recently.
But bloody good for a completely different series.
Oh, no, but the fight sequences at the end, and
but they didn't mean anything.
You got the Hulk having a smackdown with that giant wolf.
The fight sequences in that didn't mean anything.
Yeah, come on.
I didn't care about any of the characters in that movie.
I did. Rocking up.
I didn't. I felt bad that I didn't, but I didn't. I could see every joke coming. I could I'm like, okay, they're going to make this.
Well, they burn Asgard to the ground and sacrifice that demon that Hera then tries to take on.
But Hulk is just like Hulk. Thor is like still making jokes.
But he said this has to happen. They had to basically they had to destroy it, which then leads them to all being stuck on a ship. Which then Thanos rocks up and basically grabs everyone.
It's the macro of the micro we're talking about with Fat Thor, where it's just like the choices are good, the execution isn't always necessarily good. Like the story of Ragnarok, as it is in that film, without changing it, but rewriting like the dialogue sequences.
Yeah, it's just the tone. Like I don't think it's a terrible.
But they didn't want to do. Like,
no, I think take the cynicism out. It's so cynical. I think it's so cynical. Every bit of comedy is in about it is the kind of comedy that fits in a documentary or an Office.
From a production point of view, like I love the sort of like synth 80s vibe.
Oh yeah,
that was glad they went down that track, but it didn't need as much of the comedy. They could have pulled.
The comedy doesn't need to undercut all the drama every single time.
But
you don't need to feel embarrassed for having feelings.
We digress from the film at hand.
Yes,
I think we're talking about Thor.
We are talking about Thor. Okay, anybody else with any
Okay, I've got one.
I have still have more.
I'll give you one more.
Yeah, you go.
So all the people, like when they come back.
Yep.
So 5 years later, all of a sudden, fingers are clicked by Tony, and everyone returns back to Earth and every animal. What the hell happens with the world?
What do you mean?
Well, because all of a sudden it's doubled in size. So imagine half the population died off in the first click. Mm-hmm. Then they're all back. They're all they're the same age as they were when they left. So
5 years ago,
the world's fucked.
In a lot of ways,
It's interesting, yeah.
I'm sorry, the world is fucked.
It's going to be interesting.
But it is, because you're going to have age gaps between people. Everyone's to the confusion, the loss, the desperation. There's going to be animals everywhere.
To that point, they've already stated that Spider-Man Far From Home is the actual official end of Phase 3.
Yes,
because it does deal with some of the fallout from that sort of idea.
Because he says it in the new teaser. He basically
he says spoilers
the loss of Iron Man. So it's not a spoiler, but he is saying it's sad, and he goes away to get over things.
And Mysterio is like, I'm from one of the parallel universes,
which I think is bullshit.
So do I.
Knowing what I know about Mysterio,
he's setting it all up. Yeah. Let's just say he's the puppet master.
Interesting.
We'll move on.
But in terms of what you're talking about, that sort of like, people who like I guess Ant-Man and his daughter are a perfect example of just like.
But that's going to be everyone.
Well, not everyone. 50%.
Yeah. That's pretty much everyone. There's so many people.
50% is half.
Hawkeye's got his whole family.
And don't forget, it's dispassionate, so some families are completely
some
unaffected.
Some families are completely fine, and other families will be completely gone and they're completely
much like
returned.
Spider-Man's classroom, like most of them seem to have survived.
Must have been mate Ned and obviously the girl was still there. But
I think that you've got a 50% chance that's how it would work, and so that's how it
wreck the world. That's all I'm saying.
It might.
The world is going to be pretty
wrecked.
Yeah, but it's going to be even worse now.
Of course,
you've moved on. You've remarried someone, and your wife turns up.
Maybe.
You know, and like, oh, hi, honey, did you miss me? And I'm like, well, it's like the end of Castaway for about 50% of the world.
But it's
true.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you're right. I remember the end of Castaway. It just landed in my brain.
It's that great point. So, like, Thanos' mission statement...
But that's exciting to me.
And why Thanos is such a good mission.
You're not writing
a good villain.
500 different stories of loss. No, but what I'm saying is...
Oh my gosh, that was so good.
No, it's not.
I want to see that.
You just call it Fallout or something?
Fallout, yeah.
The reason Thanos is a good villain is you understand his motivation because he's kind of not wrong. Like, overpopulation and overconsumption of the Earth resources are going to doom us all.
He does what Killmonger does, which is good motivation's the wrong way to do it.
Yeah. So there's that. I had a point.
I'm sorry.
And then it left.
Sorry.
It's just like when Christian got put off in those scenes with Captain America.
Yeah,
it was just that someone just distracted him enough. He's lost his point. He didn't see the moment.
Oh, and then even Captain walks in and says, I saw some whales in the in the harbour. And she's like, in the harbour? Like,
look on the bright side.
And now there's 8 million whales in there because they've all come back.
No, what I'm saying is, like, the world was actually.
How do we know when they're not returning?
For lack of a better term, the world was healing.
Yeah.
In the way that Thanos envisioned, because it's not wrong, it's terrible, but it's not wrong.
Yeah.
And now everyone gets snapped back. Yeah, life can't just continue again, but like in the same way that 5 years changes a lot, and then over those 5 years, some people moved on, some people didn't. 5 years after the the return of these people, things will start to find their way again as well.
Exactly.
You've got to think.
Do you think that's interesting? I think it's going to be really interesting.
Claims, there's been payouts.
It's going to be amazing.
That's if the courts are running.
Come on, there's a lot going on here.
It's going to be amazing.
What if all the attorney generals...
What about all the prisoners that disappeared?
Yeah.
And then
reappeared free.
That's right. Serial
also,
killers.
where do you reappear?
Exactly. That helicopter pilot at the end of Infinity War.
Well, that's what they said.
Did he reappear in the midair where he was?
They did say that. What about people that disappeared on a plane?
nothing.
On a plane, do they just appear in the air?
Yeah.
And just fall to their death? So it's
No,
great, I've gone
there have
now.
been some theories.
Some of that would have
There have been
happened,
some theories
right?
in the same way that
Great.
that all you have to do, like when
The
Hulk,
end.
like when Professor Hulk
Oh,
did
look, Wales.
it, in the same theory, in the way that all you have to do when the Hulk did it, when Professor Hulk did it, and when Iron Man did it, when you click, there's a sense I think from a lot of audience that the Mind Stone, in the same way that a lot of evil genies and trolls and leprechauns and things, in different stories will try to skew your wish to make it wrong and bad and tricky.
Right.
The Mind Stone does the best version of
So
what
it knows
you're
your
aiming
positive
for.
intent.
So it knows your intent, and
Okay.
so I think that
I'll take that.
kind of
Everyone
that's how
lands
it
on their
manages.
feet, not in the way of traffic.
Exactly, which is how
Or you could have been picking up a penny off
you know,
the road and a
which
truck's
can
going.
account for things like the different lengths of time it took for some people to go to dust and different things like that. Like there's kind of and the way that the way that it speaks to Vision when it's in his head. He's like, oh, it's speaking to me. It's telling me this. It's telling me this. Whatever. Just these little hints stuff. Okay, I'm like since they're these eternal stones, I'm willing to accept that they have some kind of sentience on some universal level or something. I don't know.
Well, I'm just
that's
throwing
kind
that
of
out as an issue.
But either way,
It is
that
an
sounds
issue.
very exciting to me. I would
I don't know
love to
what
see the
part's
fallout.
exciting to you.
All of the fallout. How are they going to deal with it? They're going to be superheroes. They're going to have shit to deal with. That equals a good story.
Technically, we will probably find out in Spider-Man.
I hope so. That is, as Paul was just saying.
Not again.
I'm looking forward to it. All right. So for me, it was when I realised Tony had a daughter, I got a lump in my throat. I was like, amazing, beautiful. When that died, when Iron Man hugged Peter, when he hugged him, he's like,
come back.
oh, this is nice. I was like, oh, that's so nice. When Iron Man died, Iron Man's funeral, when Cap came back old, and when Cap and Peggy danced, like all these are kind of lump in my throat moments, definitely. And even when Mjolnir came out, like lump in the throat, like just from the coolness, from the oh my gosh, I know this is the last moments of coolness I'm going to get with these guys. So cool, so beautiful, so amazing. Just loads and loads.
You just blubbered the whole way through. Is there any
did blubber
sections
a
that
bit.
you didn't cry in?
Okay, can we say what would you say is your favourite one or two moments? I think we've kind of already covered.
We've done
this.
that.
Favorite moments.
We did
All right,
that.
favourite singular moment. How about that?
Oh,
Go for
God.
it. Go for it.
Cat getting the Mjolnir.
Cool. All right. What do you
Just-
say? Favourite singular
No,
moment.
I don't know.
You can have the same one, but-
No,
You can have the same one.
You go first, and then I'll go up with it. Favourite singular moment?
Singular moment. I don't know. I mean,
Come on.
Tony.
it's
Fingerclick.
probably the on your left.
Tony Fingerclick.
On your
Oh,
left
okay.
as well,
Yeah,
because I love.
For me, it's one of those.
Well,
Tony
I
Fit,
liked
Iron Man,
it. I liked the bit when Strange was doing his thing and he looked.
And
Yeah, and he put up the one finger.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that to me was just because
Yeah.
he knew it before.
Of
it
course,
was Tony
and he's
when
like,
he was
"This is
leaving.
what I was talking
He's like,
about."
there's only one way it's going to happen, and that to me was like, as soon as he gave him that sort of half look, and he went,
Yeah.
I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, because
Like,
I had that conversation earlier. He's like,
Yeah.
you said you saw 14 million. Tell me this is it. He's like, I can't
If I
tell
tell you, it won't happen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's
And
just
then he
such
found
a,
that tipping point.
And Benedict
Yes,
Cumberbatch
beautiful.
just like the way he played that, the way he
Yeah.
looked. I was like, this. Is
And when
just
you
good
look back at,
acting.
so again,
Like,
watching Infinity War again, when you look back at all the couple of things that Doctor Strange does after he tells them he knows the future, you're like, oh, he's doing all this knowing what's going to happen,
Oh, yeah.
and like he lets a few things happen that didn't need to happen, and you're like, oh, okay, like he could.
Well, he
stopped
fights
that, he could've
Thanos.
stopped- Yeah,
well, you would have
yeah.
felt bad for him as well because he would have been suffering. He knew what was coming.
Yeah, exactly.
And he would have been like really lost it before the others. You
Yeah.
know, so he knew. Obviously, he knew he was disappearing. I presume, like he knew.
Yeah,
that it was
he
all gonna
would
happen.
have, yeah.
So like he
yeah,
resigned
he
to
would
his
have gone into a
fate
future
already.
where he didn't
Yeah.
exist.
It's wild to think there was no way they could have got the glove off Thanos on Titan.
Yeah,
Ever.
No,
Ever.
No.
Like, you get so close, like, if it wasn't for Peter, and you're like, no,
Yeah.
it isn't.
no.
He's already, like, Doctor Strange has already seen it.
He's already seen
Yeah.
that.
It doesn't matter.
He lets that
Yeah,
happen.
that's true.
Because all during that scene, Doctor Strange isn't doing anything. I mean, he's just holding one of
one of his arms.
one of his arms, and that's it. I was watching it this time, going, "What's he doing? Do something! Do something!" No, dude, it's already been made. Nothing's going to change this movie.
To be fair, that fight sequence is brilliant.
Oh my gosh, so cool,
Yeah.
so cool. All right, my last couple of questions I wanted to put to you guys is why we've kind of already talked about this a little bit. Why is Endgame pretty much going to be the most profitable movie of all time? What are your theories about it? We have kind of already touched on this, but
Yeah, I guess not
Why is
to repeat myself. The lineage of films leading up to this have given enough people enough buy-in
yeah,
that they're all going to come see it.
yeah,
And because it's an event film, much like Avatar, some people are just going to fucking go see it.
yeah.
Coin.
I'm going to tip this out so we can read it. We've actually run out of coins, ladies and
We're
gentlemen.
re-upping.
Out there. Yeah. I'll be charging this to all of you guys to your accounts.
And then there's going to be repeat viewers. And I think that's the holy trinity of making bank.
Yeah.
He says with a coin jingle.
Well, it was just 10, it's 10, 11 years. And it's just, and I think that it snowballs as well, so people would have caught on maybe by the third Iron Man.
Yeah.
Some people joined during
and they would have picked their
Guardians.
favourite character.
And maybe people had not watched it, and then everyone goes, shit, did you see what happened at the end of Infinity War? That's blown away. So they went and watched it, then they went back and watched the other films and went, man, this is awesome stuff. And sorry, there's shit there. And there's another one. And, and
every time you drop a chord, it pops the mic.
Sorry, it's popping.
That's right.
Yeah.
So 50 pops that I got to get rid of.
Yeah, that's all right.
That's all right.
Yeah,
That's
so... But George swore more than anyone else. Anyway, so I think that...
Let's use rubber coins. or put it on a piece of board or something.
Doesn't make any sense. It's not. It's got to. You're gonna have real sound
You'll
effects.
know where they are.
Yeah, you'll hear a huge peak. It'll be that or Paul screaming. No, so yes, that's 10, 11 years, and I think that's what drew people, and because of that, people have gone back and watched them, and new fans have been joining over those 11 years, so it's building up, and then repeat viewings. You guys have watched it twice. You probably watched it maybe 3 times, and probably cry through this one as well. But the main thing is, that's what makes money. It's repeat viewings in cinemas, which is sometimes you watch it, you're like, I wouldn't go back and watch that. I'll wait till it comes out on DVD, or you'll see a film and go, I'll just like with say Thor 2, which I never watched. I'll see it on DVD. But everyone's like, I've got to go see that in the cinema. I want to experience it. I want to be with people like-minded, like Paul said.
I want to be in the zeitgeist.
I want to be in there. I want to be able to tell people I was in there on the first weekend or the first night it come out. You know, I want to be at that premiere. So that's what's done it. And it's a massive film.
All right. Well, speaking of it being a massive film, let's give our massive scores.
Out of?
So let's go. I mean, I like to go to 10, and I allow myself a decimal place.
You do points.
I do a decimal place.
All right.
And then we'll figure out an average and see what we agree, what we think it is equally.
Before I give my number,
yeah,
are we counting this within the series, or are we counting it as a standalone film?
That's a good question.
Because they're two different scores.
Let's give a score. Okay, I don't think we can give a score to this movie on its own. I think we have to give it to the Infinities.
So the Infinity War and Endgame as one 6-hour epic.
If that would change my score.
No, because they're not released together, so that we need to count it as one. I think we need to count it as one film. I think.
Okay.
I think.
All right.
Can you treat it? Can we treat it as one? Can be treated as one film?
Well, it's released as one film, but it is 2 parts.
Because
it's the second half of the story.
It's the second half. It's not a sequel. It is the second half.
It's the second half, but the way it's framed,
it's kind of like Stephen King's It.
Let's agree. Would you guys prefer to do it as a dual? We'll do it whatever by consensus.
I will just tell you it'll be 2 very different scores.
If it's
one film or if they're separate films.
Which would you prefer? Which would you prefer to do? Should we score both?
I think we should just score them both together. Like this is these 2 films represent the end of this era.
That makes it dead simple. Okay,
well let's do that.
Right. So both films together.
Both films together.
Yep. It's like a 9.5.
Sweet.
I'm a straight up 9.
Cool.
Yeah. I think Endgame brings it down a little bit. With Infinity War pushes, I would probably be 9.5 with Infinity. Yeah. So I'll sit on 9.
Okay.
6.3.
The reason it loses 0.5 of a point is that fucking rat.
Really? My goodness, you do not like. Although I have heard a writing rule, you can use coincidence to get people into trouble, but not out of trouble, and that's an example of bad.
I'm going to use that in everything I write
because in this,
if I'm in trouble, there's going to be a rat.
So what was your? It was 9
and 9.5
plus 9.5 plus.
This is really good scores. You're going to be the one that stuffs it. I know it.
Come on,
I can't give it a 9. I don't.
You don't have to.
I know.
Give it a 9.
Okay, I'm going to go 8.75.
Come on, you cried a lot.
You can't feel guilty about your choice. This is your choice.
So it's got a total of 9.
That's
great.
9.
That's great.
It's great. It's a great score.
9. Why am I writing it down and giving me a circle? I don't know.
Solid.
But it's 9.
You circled a 9.
I circled a 9, you guys. It's 9.08. No, that's just on the roof.
Okay.
That's they're probably going to do some work. Those neighbours work into the night. They do. Sometimes at 1 a.m.
You can pull them up.
Are they working or working?
No, I think they just work at stuff. Just building things, rolling things around.
So, 9.
Great.
All right, so it's a 9. I think well deserved. Good on you guys. The Pitching In podcast has given you a 9. Avengers Endgame.
Well done.
A 9 out of a possible 10.
Years.
If I could make 22 films over 11 years, I would be dead.
Oh my gosh.
That's such a huge... Like, this is history. Like, this is movie-making history.
It's exactly right. It's
Pop culture history.
Never been done.
And I think that's what so much of my emotionality was about it. And for me, if I feel like if I could divorce myself from the emotionality of all the other films being up to it, it would have a lower score.
Totally.
Because I don't think on even both films together, as they stand, if I was in it, if it was even possible to separate them out from all their predecessors.
But we have to understand that they were never trying to.
Of course, and neither could they. They couldn't exist.
Yeah.
Literally, like the story elements couldn't exist. They are all the endings, even the beginnings in the Infinity Saga. Even the beginnings are endings.
Yeah.
They are acknowledgements of past things, and it's just too much of a web to even separate out. Last question.
Hang on, I just want to say, how lucky are your boys, Ryan? This is their Star Wars.
Oh no! Well, they've
This
got
is my Star Wars. I love this
they've
so
got
much
Star
more
Wars
than
at the
Star Wars.
moment, but I think and my nine-year-old son has ridden a lot of this journey with me. We've pretty much been to most of the Marvel ones together, and we just love them. When we come home and we talk about them, and we've got the action figures and we do all that sort of stuff. But yeah, it's totally right. But I think even epically, it's bigger than Star Wars because look at those.
It's 48 hours.
But look at those. Look at those actors in that last film.
Oh, what did you guys think of the end credits? What did you guys think of the end credits? Did you guys like the end credits of this? I really enjoyed
the
that.
signatures was great.
Yeah, it's a callback to Star Trek.
Going really slow.
I just love the signing and all that. All the actors,
all the faces and things, and just that was fantastic. And did you guys catch the end sound, the audio thing at the end?
Which was obviously the hammering of the armor from Iron Man.
From the very beginning.
Because someone else said it was leaving, and I was like, no, it's actually
it's a callback.
I was very grateful for no end credit scene. And
I didn't
this
think
is the end.
that made sense.
Phase 3,
it would feel small to chuck something on the end of that. So we were talking about giving joint scores or split scores. Does that mean you guys both prefer Infinity War to
I'm hands up
Infinity War to Endgame?
Yeah, I liked it better.
I
feel like it was better structured as a film.
I think I've said this to you in the past. Oh my word! I'm so sorry.
That's very unprofessional.
It's even on Do Not Disturb, and
very
that's
unprofessional for a podcast. I mean, I've been throwing coins into a jar. But
I've eaten popcorn.
I do remember what I said, so I can give you the same lead in.
Yeah.
I think I've said this to you in the past, Christian. I would be just as happy if the Phase 3 ended with Infinity War.
Oh, you were saying this to me as well the other day, and you were quite happy with it to be ending so.
Yeah, sure.
So bleak, and then they have to, and then they have to start again.
And imagine if those 5 years were the next phase.
Exactly.
That would be really interesting.
Exactly.
That would be very interesting.
But
you can't kill off a lot of.
I'd like that
Spider-Man franchise,
but they're not dead.
They're not dead, but they're not going to exist in this
for a little while.
That universe.
Just for a little while.
Yeah. You can cover.
And then the next. I mean, you could do Endgame as a whole phase.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, but that's.
But yeah, so you guys both with the.
Yep.
Yeah.
I know which one I'll be watching more.
I've already watched.
True.
I've watched Infinity Wars.
Yeah,
5 times.
It's out.
I know, but I'm saying I've watched it because I enjoy it. I'm watching my kids because I enjoy it.
Yeah,
I'd imagine with Endgame I might watch it.
Yeah,
but I might be want to throw on once a year.
But so I wonder about like with Lord of the Rings, everybody cites. Well, a lot of people I speak to cite the last Lord of the Rings as their favourite. And I'm like, yeah, but that's the one with... Yeah, a lot of people I've spoken to, they're like, because that's the one with all the payoff. Like, the first one's boring, the second one's full of action, and the third one's got all the payoffs.
I'm the complete opposite.
Interesting.
First one is brilliant, perfect.
Oh, I found...
Second one, it starts to flag. Third one, I'm like, alright.
Interesting.
Why don't you give me some dialogue instead of an action sequence?
The first one to me is very pleasant, but fairly boring. The second one is really exciting, but not a lot of story happens. And the third one, all the story happens, but nothing much else.
That's another podcast.
Interesting. Okay, but
rabbit holes or rat
yeah,
holes.
great. All right. Well, I think we'll end that section of the podcast here. So I'll say thank you so much to my guests, Paul Graberback and Ryan Wisdom.
Can you do as you're signing off? Can you do a Thanos click?
Yes, I can do that.
Yeah.
Thank you everyone for joining us on part 1 of the MCU Endtrospective. Next week we're going to get into the retrospective of the whole MCU. That's going to be really interesting because almost like a time jump for us, that's going to be happening very, very soon, as opposed to next week. So in the meantime, definitely check out Pitching In on all of the different things you can check it out on. I'll probably voice over this, but until next week.
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, you guys. Smash that like button, tell your friends, 5-star reviews on iTunes, please.
Don't swear.
Yeah, check us out on Podbean and YouTube and on Facebook.
Also, if you've got a good podcast app, Podcast Addict is really good.
Oh,
good
sweet.
to manage and use all your podcasts with.
Thanks. I've never heard of that.
It's real good.
And also check out The Cave.
Yeah, the K podcast with me and
Shane,
one of your fellow guests, Shane Ramsay.
Yeah, that guy.
And until next time, remember that kindness can be critical. Oh, that
It's
was a
gonna
rubbish
sound-
snap.
It's going to sound like a really bad Nintendo Switch ad.
Oh, jeez, mate. What's going on with my clicks?
Ready? 1, 2, 3.